It's a true blessing. Carol, what's going on? What's going on? Hope everything is good with you and the family. Where we at? So call us to get in. Let's go ahead and connect. Again, episode 28 today. This is quite a journey we've been on. Making some major moves. What's going on, Pastor Carlos?
What's going on, little bro? What's going on?
All right. Crystal, what's going on? Crystal, it's been a while. How you been? ¿Cómo está la familia? ¿Cómo va todo? Espero que todo esté bien.
All right, great. We are on Facebook and
Todo
YouTube.
bien
We
por
are
el
live
lado.
on
Wishing
both.
the same for you and the fam. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'm glad to hear all is well. The way it should be, como debe de ser siempre.
Facts.
No matter how hard it get, how tough, just got to keep pushing, you know? We're all warriors, so.
Amen to that.
We are all warriors. We have Mami on, bendición Mami, bendición Papi.
Bendición tío, bendición
Liking the
tío.
fact we're getting few people, just giving it a few minutes for others to join. In the meantime, while we wait, again, this is episode 28. I want to welcome everyone who's in the live, on the live for the first time. We, myself and Pastor Carlos, created this platform to have multiple discussions on multiple topics, which I feel like we need to talk more about, right? We have so much access to many things on social media, but it's very rare for us to come across this type of information, these type of discussions, these type of testimonies that not only I, myself, or Pastor Carlos puts on, but we've had a great blessing of other people joining the live to give their testimony. Random weeks. We've done, all the way from spiritual warfare to personal experiences in general. Again, we encourage everyone to join on the live. And if you want to get on camera and put your testimony out, more than welcome. If you just want to get on the live and say hello, say thank you, we really love what you guys are doing, just to get some feedback. Again, you're more than welcome. But if you don't feel comfortable getting in front of the camera, giving the testimony out, feel free to drop any messages on the chat. You can go ahead and type it. We try our best not to miss a message. We always go through and make sure we read everything, because we love when people engage. And if you want to keep it anonymous, you do have the option on the bottom right corner. You'll see a bubble with a question mark. Go ahead and feel free to drop a question, drop a statement, whatever it is. And we won't mention names. That's how we'll know to keep it private. Looks like he got disconnected. We'll see. Let me get him back in. In the meantime, let me know how you're doing. Let me know how you're doing. Drop a heart. Drop a heart if you've been on with us. If you've been receiving great messages through these discussions and testimonies, because we have so much more coming, so much more.
There we go. Yeah, cut out there.
There we go, Lodi. Thank you for joining us. Jadi, what's going on? Thank you for joining us.
Lodi, good to have you guys on, you ladies. Thank you.
Nice.
First time here. It's a blessing to have you with us, for real.
Definitely.
We definitely thank and bless everybody who has been rocking with us from the beginning, or if you're just rocking with us for the first time today. It's a blessing, believe me. To hear like the testimonies that we've been able to see, how people have been touched by things, how people's lives have been changed, impacted, how they're changing their way of thinking, their way of life, how they're starting to see the fruit of changing that. We know, believe me, many people, if it's your first time here, many people can tell you they came in not knowing what to expect. Some people dropped in on accident. Like, believe me, there's never an accident. God has a purpose for you being wherever you are. It's not coincidence. And people's lives have been blessed from that. We expect the same for you. that is going to be something that's going to impact your life, that's going to be able to help to edify you, lift you up, so that you can see, what God's plans are for you, which are great plans. So
Definitely. So we're about to get started. We're good on Facebook Live, YouTube Live.
and a welcome again to those that are watching us on Facebook, that are watching us on YouTube. Again, unlike the people that are on Instagram Live rocking with us, you can go ahead and send a message on Facebook, on YouTube. We are keeping an eye out for that. So just know, if you've got something to say, go ahead and drop it in the chat. We're looking out for that. You will be part of it as well. And again, like Jimmy here said, we want you guys to be part of it. Testimonies are good. What we talk about is great. All that stuff is fantastic. But believe me, what God could say through you, the impact of your testimony and what he's doing in a lot of people's lives, that has a tremendous impact. Do not minimize what's happening in your life, what you're doing, what God is doing in your life, because without question, we know that he's doing big things, and people need to hear about what's going on in your life, what God is doing through you, the blessings that are there. So I think we're ready to
rock. Right
started.
Before we get started, I just want to go ahead and thank Jadi for supporting the platform. She's dropping those badges in, basically, donations, just to continue to build this platform, to continue to grow, because we're working really hard. We're taking time out to connect with you. We're taking time out to discuss life experiences, right? This is the type of platform, the type of discussions that we need to give that push, to give that motivation. If you're having a difficult day, if you're having difficult times, this is exactly where you need to be. And for those who are not on the live, or for those who are watching the recorded session, because we do upload the live shortly after it's over. After every episode, it goes on YouTube. So if you're unable to join or unable to stay for so long, you can continue watching the video on YouTube.
Absolutely.
Feel free to watch it on YouTube. We'll be more than happy to send over the link. You can search for it. Please make sure to share. You never know who needs to hear it. You never know who needs to receive a good message, especially through these tough times. Everyone has their moments. So
absolutely.
Well, let's go ahead and get started, big bro. So bro, this is episode 28.
28. That's 7 months since we gotten started. Crazy to think that it's going, that what we just knew that God was going to have us do. Never the expectation that we'd hear the testimonies that we've been hearing and everything. So, those of y'all that have been rocking with us, I'm sure you haven't felt that it's been 7 months. It seems like it was just a few weeks ago that we launched this. So soon enough, we'll be celebrating a year. So we're expectant that we're going to continue to see the impact. But what's the direction that you've been getting for this week, little bro?
Well, today what you been thinking? We got God will not waste your pain. Your pain has purpose. Ooh. So we've been discussing this in multiple episodes, right? Here and there, we always talk about pain. There was one time where we touched base on pain management, the things that we go through. Everyone goes through something similar, some differently, right? And if we go through something similar, our reaction are either similar or different. So this is why the testimonies are good, because let's say, for example, if I experience anxiety or depression and of someone else who experienced the same, we know of people who have committed suicide, and that's tragic. But now we are still here, right? We're still breathing. We still have the opportunity to see another day. We wake up to see another day, right? God blesses us to see another day, and we're able to make things different for ourselves and for others around us, right? So I think it's very critical that we have to dig a little deeper when it comes to the pain. Whatever it is that you're feeling, just keep in mind, maybe this is part of my journey. Not take it as punishment, because the second you think of the pain that you're going through being punishment is when things can go south, right? Things can get worse, but you have to understand yourself, understand your process, understand the stages that you're going through, which is very critical, right? Because if you look at the experiences you've had, all you do is get better with time, right? When you
Yep.
overcome these obstacles, all you're doing is getting stronger and better. And I feel like that's very important. It's something that we have to talk about, to make anxiety, depression, and multiple conditions that are out there normal, right? Now, we have to also learn how to fight it to the point where we can actually control it, right? Defuse situations, right? The more we talk about it, the more we can do, the more we can do. And we should be able to share it openly, which is why I tell everyone, if you want to go ahead and drop a comment or drop your experience, you can do it in the chat. That's cool. If you want to get on the camera, feel free to join and give your testimony. You never know who wants to hear your story. I have a story. Pastor Carlo has a story as well. We've had multiple people get on to put their testimony out, to put their story out.
Yep.
And just the impact that it's been doing is just, it's priceless. It's priceless. But yeah, big bro, we're gonna go ahead with the purpose that God has for us when it comes to the pain, the experiences that we go through.
I think there was something real key that you just said, bro, in the sense of like, a lot of people look at it from the perspective of punishment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number one, God is not trying to punish you for stuff. You know what I'm saying? I want you guys to understand that from the very beginning, because for a lot of people, they immediately think, I mean, I know because I've been there, and I know many people that have been there. You have a lot of people that will think like, yo, if things are not going the way that I would hope that they would go, if I'm suffering some ill consequences, if I'm, if just a lot of things are just like, I just got a lot of negativity happening in my life, these relationships not working out, I got this all these financial issues, I'm struggling, heartbreak, whatever, right? Death in family, all this other stuff. It's very, very easy to go and think like, okay, what am I doing that's causing that, right? Like, what am I doing that's causing it? And immediately you start to go and you start to think about, it's because I did this that I'm getting paid back for it this way, And what's something that we talked about the other day? You need to watch out with the thoughts about karma, because the thoughts about karma will keep you in a cycle, because you continue to think that what goes around comes around, and every day you do something wrong. None of us are exempt from it. Every day we all do something wrong. So that means that if that was the case, none of us should ever have any blessing. It should always be negativity. And that's not the case. That's not the case. You always start seeing that things are working. You have good days, you have bad days, but it's not that you're doing something wrong that leads to the bad day, right? And I always give people I always tell people, the enemy wants to trick you because he wants you stuck in that cycle, thinking that you're getting something that you deserve, because you're constantly going to go and be reminded of all the things that you've done wrong, which means that you never deserve anything good. And that's why people continue to think, oh, this is the life that I live, this is what I deserve, blah, 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 whatever. And it's just a consistent thing, right? When that's never the case. And you're right, bro. There's a purpose in that pain. There's a purpose in what you've been going through. You're absolutely right. But the biggest part of it is the perspective. We've talked about in the last few weeks, we've mentioned a few times how God says, God's word itself says that all things work for the good of those who love him according to the purpose for them, right? So that means that it might be a difficult situation, but that difficult situation always works for your good. And you got to, and again, I always give people that quick example of Job too, which we've talked about Job, the book of Job, a number of different times, in the last few months, where it was the devil that came in and was like, yo, I'm going to, if you let all these bad things happen to him, God, he's going to turn away from you. He's going to get angry with you. He's going to do all these things. And God had to allow him to do those things to show his perspective is not going to change. He's never going to back away from me. And you got to see the blessing that for everything that he suffered, God paid it back, essentially with interest, right? Where he got better than what he lost. But there was pain in that process. But his perspective never changed. You see what I'm saying? So I know there's a number of people. I know some people personally that are connected right now that I've seen some of the names come up on the list. That if I were to ask, what have you like, what have you suffered in your life that was terrible, that was a long process, that was painful, that was tragic, that took longer than it should have, and the list could go on and on and on and on, right? If those people were to mention today, how do you see things now after you pass that time, after you've gotten past it, after time has healed things, you know what I'm saying? After God has blessed you in other areas and everything like that, how do you feel about that situation now? And I guarantee you their perspective is a million times different than it was in the moment that they were going through the pain. You know what I'm saying? No matter how bad that pain was. So those people could easily give you testimony to say, you know what, this time was terrible, and I didn't know how I was going to get out of it. I didn't know how I was going to survive it. The things, many people couldn't sleep. Many people were overly stressed. Maybe people were overly sad. They had anxiety. They had all these different things. But if you talk to them about things now, if you talk to them about their lives now, they probably received blessings in their life now over the last few years, where it's like, if I didn't suffer that pain, if this had not been taken away from me, there's probably certain things that I would not have in my life today that I wouldn't give, that I right now wouldn't give away. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I always like to give the example of when my wife and I lost a baby at almost 6 months, pregnant. That normally does not happen. Once you pass a certain, time frame, it's very rare that it happens. And in the moment, I mean, there was immense sadness, a lot of different things. We're not exempt from that. But like I share with people, now that I've got my daughter and my son, it's like, if the child that we lost was a little boy. My oldest daughter is a girl. So if we had just a little boy, that would probably been it. We didn't have any other plans. Like, that would have been it. But after that, we had a little girl and a little boy. And I look at things now, and it's like, would I give up having that one kid for the two that I've been blessed with? We talked about before how I mentioned in Job, for the pain that Job suffered, he got paid back, and he got paid back more. He got better than before. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, for the one that I lost, I was blessed with two. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, being blessed with two, would I give that away for the one? No. Now that I understand people that have been in that same situation, that have had nobody to understand them, but I've been able to help to pastor them and guide them, because I can empathize with them, because I've been through the situation. My wife and I have, and we've seen how those people were sad and had anxiety and all this other stuff because of what happened. But they felt peace because we came in and God spoke through us, but spoke with authority because we went through the situation. Being able to see how people can heal because of the experience that we went through, would I give that up? No, I wouldn't give that up. So it's one of those things that in the moment, it's painful and it's difficult. But later on, your perspective will change when you see the purpose of what God had through what happened. Now, it's not to say the bad things happen because of God. Don't get me wrong. That's not it. But he permits for certain things for particular reasons. And why is it? It's for the purpose of those who love him. Like, he has a purpose with us. You know what I'm saying? And who knows? I might not be talking to you guys today. I might not be pastoring today if that was different. I might not have been able to connect with certain people if that was different. There's just so many things there to unpack, that life could be vastly different than what it is right now. But God knew what he had to have that situation work for the purpose that he's given me. because I love him. You know what I'm saying? So, but I guarantee you the enemy did not throw that with the expectation that I would love him, because there's a lot of people that when they have significant loss, they turn their back. They don't want nothing to know about God. Get out my face. Like, I don't want anything to know about you, which it's understandable. It happens. It's a lot of us, our perspective is not where it should be. You know what I'm saying? So, but again, like you said, Jamin, yeah, it's all a matter of perspective. All perspective.
Big time. And you know what I feel is something else that we have to do is when we talk to the youth, right? Our children or your younger brother or sister, just in general, if you were to break down how you felt in those moments, those tough moments, the darkest moments, if you want, travel back in time, you know, and think about the worst moment you ever had or moments, right? When you were in that moment, the first thing you would think is, man, I don't even want to be here. Whatever that meant to you at the time, right? Because it's so stressful. Maybe you weren't getting the right advice. You didn't know who to go to. You know, you had a whole bunch of friends, but you didn't know, you didn't feel comfortable with having a specific conversation with that friend or friends, right? Because not everyone's going to understand your battles. Not everyone's going to understand the struggles that you go through internally, right? Everyone's there for the partying, for the fun, but very few are there for those troubled moments, right? And even for those who want to be there, sometimes they don't know how to manage those troubled moments themselves, right? Which is why we make bad decisions when we're young, right? All depending on the discipline, all depending on the advice that we get and from who. Now, if we were to share more and more about those moments with our youth, our young, the ones that are coming up, explaining to them that it's okay to be in that emotional state. It's okay to feel jealous. It's okay to feel exactly whatever it is that you're feeling. It's okay to feel it. It's all about how you look at it. It's all about how you continue to move, how you continue to be after going through that situation. There's a lot of people that are destroyed, that are just destroying others. Some do it unintentionally, others do it intentionally, right? Because, oh, if I felt like this at one point, someone else has to feel my pain as well. So they can get a taste of what, you know, what it is to feel down. No, be the person that you know what it is to go through something and you don't want the next person to go through it. So you know what, let me be a helping hand. You know, let me be that shoulder they can lean on if anyone ever needs it. And I think that's one way to prevent. But pain management, we spoke about that in 4 episodes ago, and we spoke about how you don't have to be a wizard, right? Look back in your life and look to see what exactly you went through. Now the question is, are you looking at it different today? Now because we're never going to stop going through things for as long as we're living, right? We're going to continue to experience the struggle, discomfort, unfairness, right? Because life isn't fair at times. But the way I look at it, at these obstacles, is whatever it is that I'm going through, I know I'm going to overcome, and I know I'm going through it for a reason.
Right.
I know I'm going through it for a reason. I'm going to be gifted, or I'm going to learn from this process because someone else is going to need the help, which is what we're doing on this platform. We're basically discussing our life experience. We're discussing how we moved at the time, how we manage it now, right? I've made multiple mistakes in the past. I look back at my past and I'm like, man, I can't believe that I used to think this about myself. Man, I can't believe that I was actually beating myself up because of something that someone else did to me. Man, I can't believe that I did this to someone else, right? Because we have to discuss both ends of the table, right? Because it's so easy to go ahead and put the blame on someone else, to go ahead and talk about a situation that where you were the victim. But what about when your partner was the victim? It's hard to admit. It's hard to accept. It's hard to discuss, right? Because you're the subject. You're the reason at that point, right? But either way, victim or not, we just have to learn how to move on. And how we move on is by healing, right? We have to learn how to heal. What is it that we have to understand about ourselves and these moments in order to heal, right? As we go, we're learning more and more about us. We're learning more and more about our tolerance. We're learning more and more of what it is that we like and what we don't like. And in that process, when we learn these things, we also learn what we don't want to do to others because we know exactly how it feels, right? We put ourselves in their shoes, which is why we become wise. We become better. We have so much improvements along the way. You know, last episode I mentioned how the people that we get the advice from, we look up to them and say, man, where did all that wisdom come from? You know, how did you become so wise? Little that we know is that they had to go through it in order to know about it. And going through it is the hard part, because sometimes we don't even know if we're going to get out of it.
That's right.
It comes to a point where you do overcome X amount of obstacles to the point where your self-esteem is up. You're more confident. You're more sure about yourself. And you have a lot more knowledge to understand that, yes, you will get through no matter what presents itself. No matter what obstacle comes and tries to bring you down or hold you down, you're going to get right back up, right? You're going to fail X amount of times, but it doesn't matter how many times you fail. You have to get back up and keep going because you're still learning more and more about you. Now, it's very easy to get discouraged when we tell ourselves, man, it's been pretty rough. I've been trying hard to do the right thing. I've been trying hard to do the right thing, not only for myself, but for this other person. But sometimes you'll notice that it's only so much you can do, right? You're going to learn along the way that even though you try to help someone else, they also have to put the effort to help themselves. Meaning you're there to give the advice, but you can't be there holding their hand along the way. I mean, you can, but there's going to be moments when they're going to have to be very independent. You're not always going to be in that situation. We can even connect that with our children, right? Or siblings, you know, the younger. It's like we give them all the discipline at home and we talk to them about life in general and how they should behave and how they should treat others, how they should view themselves, always be confident. But you're really going to know about it when we hear about it from school staff, how they're behaving when you're not present, when you're not there to remind them about the discipline and those moments, right? So I feel like, man, we're going to dig real deep today. We're going to dig real deep today. It's very important for us to discuss this. You know, it's going to help everyone who's watching this live, whether you're on live or you're watching it via YouTube. But we have to continue to push, and just make others more aware of not only their surroundings, but themselves.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, you know, you also, again, all of this is mainly a matter of perspective, right? There was something I remember in a Jay-Z song that they hit right on the head what you just said, where he said, you know, I will not lose because even the defeat, there's a lesson learned, so it evens it up for me. You know, so it's like no matter what, that's a perspective. You know, I'm not gonna focus on the loss. I'm not gonna focus on the L that I'm gonna take. Why? Because the L that you take, you're always gonna take L's. You're always gonna take a loss. Always. But it's all a matter of perspective. Whether you want to accept that it's a loss or you want to accept that there's something to be gained in that. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. It's always, again, that's we go back to the verse that I had given a few minutes ago. You know, what we've talked about, you know, over the last, you know, few months.
Yeah.
Everything works for the good of those who love him according to his purpose for them, right? So if your perspective is like, everything works for my good, that's all you got to think. Everything works for my good. Everything works for my good. Everything works for my good. The good things work for my good. The not so good things work for my good. You know, the tough times work for my good. The great times work for my, like, your focus is always everything works for my good. then guess what you're going to do? In the difficult situations, does that say that it's going to eliminate sadness? That it's going to eliminate that, like, sadness 100%, depression 100%, difficult moments 100%? No, it does not mean that. I'm not saying that. But what I am telling you is it allows you to be sad. It allows you to be depressed. It allows you to have that tough moment where maybe you shed some tears. Maybe you just stuck there, and you just got your hand in your head, just thinking about it. Maybe you don't want to get out of bed for that morning or whatever. But ultimately, at some point, it's about how you bounce back.
Mm-hmm.
Because instead of what a lot of people do, which is sulking in the difficulty, sulking in the bad moment, and never getting past it, you have that bounce back where it's like, no matter how difficult this is, I'm going to push through because I remember that everything works for my good. So that means there's always something that I'm going to receive there, right? There's always something that I'm going to receive there that's going to be for my good, which is just like the verse that I gave you in the song. It always, there's always at least a lesson learned, so it evens it up for me. So even if I take the L, the lesson learned evens it out. Done. It's easy, So as much as you don't want to see it that way, that is the case. But again, that's a matter of perspective. But if you don't have that perspective, you will take the L. You will take the loss. And I guarantee you will take the loss. If you're not willing to switch your perspective, if you're living that kind of lifestyle, you will take the loss. You know why? Because the one who is doing, the one who's causing those bad things, right? We already know who it is. And this is why it's important to identify your enemy. Identify your enemy's characteristics, their traits, to be able to know these are the things that the enemy does, so that you can battle against it, fight against it, be on the lookout. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like when you look at a sport, like if you look at boxing, if you look at basketball, if you look at football, they study, they have playbooks, they have video, they study. Why? Because it doesn't mean that the other team won't score. It doesn't mean that the other boxer is not going to hit him in the face. It doesn't mean that. It means that they've studied the game plan. They know what their enemy is capable of. And might they get hit? Yeah. But when they get hit, they're going to be like, I should have seen that one. And you get quicker to it, because you don't think, oh man, like that's the punch in the face and now I'm going to give up. No, you think, hold up, let me remember what I've studied. They might get their blows in, but if I studied it enough, I know what they're going to be doing. And I know that if this is the way that they hit me, maybe there was a slight change in the game plan. Let me adjust. You figure it out. You get it, right? But when you choose to give up, when the enemy in life is hitting you in the face, hitting you in the stomach, hitting you with all these blows, and you don't feel like you can go, you have to remember who your enemy is. Why your perspective needs to be different. Your enemy comes to steal, comes to kill, comes to destroy. That's what he does. That's the traits of your enemy. He steals, he kills, he destroys. What is he trying to steal? First and foremost, remember last week we talked identity theft. Mm-hmm. Theft. The thief is the exact words that are in that verse. The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. The identity theft, he wants to steal your identity. Why? Because he's jealous of you. He's jealous because God gave you his image, gave you the ability to do the things that he can do, right? Not that you're greater than God, but that he can do it through you. He wants to do it through you. And the enemy doesn't have that power. So he wants to steal your identity for one of two reasons. Either to use you to achieve what he wants. That's where we talk about influence, right? Or if he can steal your identity, if he doesn't use you to influence, what's the next step? He can kill. That doesn't mean that he's killing you literally. That means
Who
He
you
can
are.
he can kill and destroy the future that God has for you, the plans that God has for you, which he steals, kills, and destroys it. All the plans, all the blessings. He can go and I'm going to kill this one. I'm going to kill that one. I'm going to destroy this one. I'm going to destroy that one. And why is it being destroyed? Because if you don't put your perspective in the right direction, you don't identify your enemy and you don't identify what he's trying to accomplish. Some of you have experienced in your past absolutely terrible relationships where you have a reason, a right to feel like deceived, hurt, heartbroken, where it's like, I don't even want to get in a relationship anymore. I don't want to do anything. And guess what? I've seen people who, had a terrible relationship in their 20s and then either don't seek a relationship or don't have stable relationships in their 30s, in their 40s, in their 50s, and they're all alone. And it's not, could it be because that's what God wanted? Yes. But could it be that they purposely themselves kept away because they didn't have the correct perspective? That there was something there for them, that God wanted them to receive blessing, to be fruitful, all that stuff? Could it be that the enemy switched their perspective so they didn't receive what God wanted? And guess what the enemy did? Stole their relationships, stole their children, maybe, that they could have had, stole destroyed their potential family, killed their potential family, killed their dreams because they had these dreams of their peace, killed their peace. But, they had these dreams of, I'm hoping one day to have my husband. I'm hoping to have my wife. I'm hoping to have my kids. I'm hoping to have my house. I'm hoping to have this. And then, you've seen it before, dude. There's like people who one bad relationship killed everything. And it's like, they don't want to know about a spouse. They don't want to know about kids.
Yep.
The future home for them, they don't even get, because it's like, why do I need a home since it's just me? You know what I'm saying? Things get stolen, destroyed, killed. That's what the enemy wants to do. He wants to steal from you, destroy you, and kill you. All the things that you could have. Because he does not want you to walk in power. He does not want you to walk in the blessing that God has for you. He does not want you to know who the Father really is and what the Father has to say about you and the image, the true image that you should have. Bro, there's so many things going on in the world right now, not just this, but so many different things where it's like, if you're really paying attention, the enemy is stealing identities and killing and destroying people's futures. And in some cases, the decisions that people make from a physical perspective, right, are irreversible. And futures are stolen. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. It is what it is. But it's about, time that people focus on the perspective, the correct perspective. And the correct perspective you will have in relationship with the Lord. If you have that perspective, you'll understand everything. Nobody can tell me any otherwise. Everything will work for the good of those who love him. So that means if I lost this relationship, it's going to work for my good. If I lost a family member, it's going to work for my good. If I lost my job, it's going to work for my good. If my house burned down, it's going to work for my good. If I got in this car wreck, it's going to work for my good. Does not matter. If the economy is terrible, it's going to work for my good. If I have to take a pay cut, it's going to work for my good. The question is not how. You don't have to worry about how. You just have to know it works for your good. And you're expectant of that. That's faith. You don't have to know how, because if you knew how, that equates to you not having faith, because you already know. You know what I'm saying? You already know. But it's going to work for your good. I guarantee you. And again, we can, bro, you hit the nail on the head when you were talking about youth. How many times when we were kids, teenagers, did we not think that what's happening when you're 15
Yeah.
is forever.
Mm-hmm.
99% of the time, it's not.
Yeah.
It's just not, you know, in so many areas. As teenagers, I'm sure many of us had relationships where we felt when that relationship ended, that was forever. Like, I'm never going to love again. Like, whatever, stop. No, it's really not. Nowadays, you look back
It's a
on
lot
that,
of things that happen in our
you
teens.
know, yeah, you think, wow, that's terrible. You know, you got people that got locked up as teenagers or early in their adulthood life. And people would swear, even a society would write them off. Oh, you went to jail. That's the repercussions are forever. Bro, we've seen some people even within our own family that once they got out of jail, they're living better than a lot of people that didn't even,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that never went to jail. People that went to college, people that studied, people that all, they're living better because their focus was different
Mm-hmm.
coming out. You know what I'm saying? So what society said, this is now determining your future and this is forever. It's not. I've seen 2 instances on our family where that wasn't forever, and those people have amazing jobs or have really great lifestyles and are doing things that a lot of people would be envious about. You know what I'm saying? Which they shouldn't be envious because that's perspective again, you know?
Yeah.
But you get my drift, right?
Of course.
So terrible decisions, because those were terrible decisions that led to them getting locked up,
Mm-hmm.
was not a forever thing. But they came out with a different perspective. And that's what we have to, and both of those people, by the way, to my surprise, later on, believe that God was going to do it. And they give God the glory that God did it. And because they give God the glory that he did it, and they believe, hey, God, without God, I wouldn't have done this, you know, they have enough of a relationship to be like, God did it. And guess what? Both of those people that I know, they're going for more. They don't believe that this is it. They believe that there's more to come. Perspective. It's a matter of perspective. The question I have is, what are you believing? What are you believing for? What are you hoping for? You know, are you willing to believe no matter what? Because a lot of us say like, oh, I'm going to believe that these things are going to work and all this other stuff. You believe it, but when you get punched in the mouth, a lot of y'all don't believe it. A lot of y'all stay dazed and confused and want to run back home. Believe me, that's exactly what the enemy wants. So he could steal your identity with the crazy identity theft and destroy and kill a number of different things. All with the basis of he's mad, he's angry, he's jealous that he doesn't have that benefit. You need to know who you're fighting, because he's the one running this world right now. Just saying. You need to understand your opponent. And many of us don't. Or many of us want to believe that that's non-existent. Trust, it's 100%
It's dangerous. It's real dangerous, especially with the way society puts things, the way they've been doing it for a while. And there's been a lot of changes nowadays because of, thank God, technology, because of the communication that's taking place, right? People are being more open, the freedom, right? Let's go ahead and think back. Go ahead. I want to go ahead and connect with something you said. Back when we were teenagers, right? And we went through something, we thought that situation or those moments are permanent.
Right. And
You
by the way,
even
if
thought,
anybody has a testimony of something like that, feel free to go ahead
drop
and
it,
drop it in the chat or connect with
drop
us.
it.
That testimony of where you're going with it coming from you is important. So go ahead,
There's a
Lou.
lot of people that even thought that what they would wear in those times is like, oh, I'm not going to change my style. This is what I like. And, you would have people tell you, like, oh, you wait and see. As you grow up, there's many things that are going to change. The way you think, the way you look, even the taste that you have for foods, for clothing, whatever it is, all that is going to change eventually, right? And most of the time it's actually for the better, especially in
Right.
my case. I went from 4XCs to 2X to medium. So
For real,
but
the double like super extra large tees, one under,
yeah, man,
over
the
the other.
Rockaware, and the reason why I would wear those clothes, because I was okay with Nautica. I was okay with, what's the other one? Diesel. I was okay with Tommy Hilfiger, but because we go by what society is trending at the moment, and we don't want to be any different. This is what's trending. I don't want anyone to make fun of me. I don't really want to wear these sneakers. I need Jordans. I need Nikes, whatever it is. All along, now I look back and I'm like, man, I should have just stayed different, because I'm actually wearing today what I used to wear then. But all because we go by what other people think or what other people would say, right? And we have to be very careful, because that can lead down the wrong path. Now,
Just to piggyback off of that, something very important that I feel to share
yeah,
is that you said something so key, something very small that you said, but it has such an impact. Who are you trying to get the approval of?
it's
Now,
been for the wrong people.
Exactly.
For the wrong people.
I really want you to focus on this for a second. Again, this is perspective. Perspective is key. Perspective is everything. Who are you trying to get the approval of? Because a lot of people, for example, when you were a teenager, you probably looked ridiculous. I mean, I think I look pretty fly in my Sean John jumpsuit, right? But, nowadays I look at it and it's like, wow, that was silly. Not only that, it was expensive, right? Who were you trying to get the approval of in that moment? Because to spend that money, was a lot of money. That was a lot of money to spend, where it's like, wow, that was kind of ridiculous, right? But let's fast forward. I'm going to hit you guys with a few little things. And if you now look at it, maybe it's things in your past, maybe it's things in your present that you need to come to grips with, because maybe you need to change your perspective. Who are you asking for the approval of? So if you go and you're buying, just certain brands, it's all about the brand. Like, you good with any brand in reality, but you need to have this one. I'm talking clothes, I'm talking sneakers, I'm talking the phone. I need to upgrade every year, whatever. You probably really don't, but I'm just saying, like, I want to hit y'all with something for a second. I'll give you a good example. This little device you got right here, right? You got a lot of people that upgrade every year, right? You upgrade every year. Not only that, but you don't go with the base model. You go with the pro model, right?
Fully loaded.
Fully loaded, pro model. I got to have the 1 terabyte. I got to have it with all the cameras. I got to get the top model. Do not get me wrong. That model serves a purpose. But you have to ask yourself the question, if you're upgrading every year, if you're getting that phone every single year, are you the power user that phone is targeted to? Because that phone serves a purpose. There are people that really do take the pictures. There are people that really do take the videos that are like, yo, I need that extra camera like that. It's not about taking pictures of my kids, taking videos of my kids. It's that I can really use this for work. There are people that really shoot video and film with that 3-lens camera with all those megapixels, that I need that 1 terabyte because of all the video that I store on my phone. This is a work phone, a professional phone. The fact that it says pro on your phone means professional, means that it is meant for the professional, means that you think that you're using the phone. You can see it with the MacBook Pro. A lot of us are buying and spending additional money on professional features, but I'm using it as an amateur. And I'm spending professional money when I can get the same exact result on an amateur-based model, on a regular consumer-based model. And you spend all that money, and over the span of 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you never use everything that's in there, ever. You don't use it to its fullest capabilities. you would never notice a difference. But a lot of us go and we spend that money. So who are you getting it for? Are you getting it for yourself, or are you getting it so that you could say, yo, I got that iPhone 13 Pro Max, 1 terabyte. Who, for what?
I want to
You know
go
what I'm
ahead
saying?
and add something to that. It's funny.
Go ahead.
And I feel like, my opinion, this is ridiculous, but I've heard this before, and it was very serious. So it came from someone who told me, they were like, I was talking to this girl, and she was telling me how she don't date dudes with Androids. So my question, no, so wait. So my question was why is that? Why did she say that? No, because she figured that people who own Androids are broke. So if you have an iPhone, that means you have money. Does that make any sense?
And the sad thing about that is, again, the perspective, the mentality that somebody has, because
It's
they equate that with it. But I can't tell you how many millionaires I've seen that drive a Hyundai. Not because they can't afford
or
it.
with
Not
flip
because they
phones.
can't, yeah. Or they got the flip phone. Or you see them
Flip
wearing
phones.
Wrangler jeans that they got at Walmart. You know what I'm saying? They got the same phone that they've been rocking the last 5-6 years, because their priority is different than yours.
Now think about the pain that causes on many people that she probably said that to. That's where it brings insecurity, right? You're going by what society is saying or what that person said. So now you're buying a phone that you can't really afford or that you really don't need because you want to go ahead and gain something that you think is going to get for you, right? It's unnecessary. It's really not a necessity, but you want to get it because you know what? That's the thing nowadays. And that's the type of hurt. Like, we're trying to tackle every angle here, right? It's not only through relationships. It's like simple things that take place in the world, in society, that breaks people, that transform people into who they're not. We come into this world with nothing, right? Everything we have and we own is either because you like it and this is what you wanted, or you got it because of the discussions you had in the past few years.
Yep.
Look at the school that your child is in right now. Is she in that school because that's the school that you wanted and you went ahead and you looked on niche.com, or I forgot what the other one is, where you can actually review the ratings of the professors.
I know there's
and
great schools too. I mean, there's a number of different ones.
There's a number of ones, but you go on that website and you're like, what's the best school in this region? Because that's where I want my child to go. But you have people who put their child in a specific school, or you actually convince them to go to a school because they're going to be the topic in a discussion eventually at dinner. Oh, comparisons, right? Like, oh, what school is your child in? Harvard. Really? Mine is in Pace, or whatever the case is, right? It's like different. It's like competition. We're living in a world where it's competition in the majority of the places, and we have to be very careful with that, right? It turns people into something they're not. It leads down a path of just debt, misery, when in reality, all we have to do is remain humble. Go with what exactly you can afford, right? And just focus on you. You're going to come across people who's going to try and destroy you.
Yep.
Emotionally, mentally, right? They're going to joke on your appearance, whatever it is. But if you believe in yourself and you could go ahead and just block the noise, you'll see how strong you become, what
Okay.
you're capable of.
Exactly.
Because you're not going by other things.
And again, I mean, who are you going for the approval for? Now, let's get away from the material things, right? I love the fact that you brought up something like Harvard, right? And then you're like, Harvard, Pace, whatever. I'm going to do you one better. You got people sometimes, let's be honest, you got people sometimes that get into a really good school.
And I meant to say, what's the other one? Prince. It was Princeton, or
Princeton.
I forgot.
Mm-hmm.
Princeton.
Yeah, you
right?
got Princeton. Yale, Harvard, you got all those, right? You got people that sometimes get into a very good school. Just giving an example, right? And hopefully this is motivation for those that have never gotten into a really good school, but are in the process
Yeah.
of doing their schooling, if that's what they feel that they need to do. Again, schooling is not everything, because I've seen people be successful without school, right? But let's say, for example, you get into a good school. Let's say that you get into a Harvard, an MIT, a Boston University, a USC, whatever, right? But you can't afford it. Turns out they didn't give you enough scholarships. And you can always come back because they already approved you. They applied, they got you in. And because a lot of people have this option, that you can choose to do community college for about a year to save yourself some money, maybe even 2 years. You know that those classes are going to transfer over because you're doing your basic core classes. That's going to transfer over. Your credits are going to come over complete, right? You have people that are like, no, I'm just going to go to that school and take out these student loans for the money that I can't afford. Well, hold up a second. If you're able to come back next year or 2 years later because you have the approval, right? Who are you doing that for? What's your purpose behind it? Because you have the option to go to a community college and save tens of thousands of dollars each year, right? That you don't have to go ahead and ask for that, for that loan, right? And when you get out, you might be, if you killed it in community college, you could be going into the school that you wanted to go into, maybe even a better school with full scholarship. Or even better, money where you don't have to go ahead and get into as much debt. But some people will still be like, no, I'm going to go over there, even though I can't afford it. I'm just going to take out those loans. Well, you got to ask, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Are you doing it for somebody's approval? Are you doing it to show out? You know what I'm saying? People get into that. People get into debt with certain cars or whatever. You can't afford that payment on that apartment, on that house, on that car. What are you doing it for the approval of, or for who? Or I love the fact that you brought up the schools, because some of us know that our kids should go to some better schools, right? And what happens? That if you did the math and you didn't buy the new phone every year, and you didn't buy all these things that in reality you really don't need, but you're doing it, you're getting it to show out, right? Who are you looking for the approval for and all those things that you're buying? Because if you were to calculate how much you spent on these things, spending money to take people out to go eat, to show out, spending money on the sneakers, spending money on these clothes, spending money on this phone. It doesn't sound like much, but that $40-something that you pay for your iPhone every month, just for the phone, not for your service, that you're adding to your bill, right? In some cases for some people.
Mm-hmm.
That adds up little by little. All that stuff adds up. Next thing you know, that's $200, $300, $400 in the month. You know what? That could be $200, $300, $400 that you could be saving every month, not showing out for anybody else, knowing that you want to give your child and your family a better opportunity somewhere else, because where you at is not a good place. Mm-hmm. But you go now and you can save that money, right? That very money is what's holding you back from moving into a new neighborhood, from having a completely different lifestyle, not a flashy lifestyle, talking about a different lifestyle because I live somewhere that's healthier for me and my family.
Yeah.
Somewhere where we have more opportunity. You know what I'm saying? A different lifestyle where my family is not exposed to certain things that might down the road influence them to go the wrong way. But because you think, oh, this $40 is not much, this $100 is not much, this $20 over here is not much, this $50 meal that I'm going out to eat that I really can't afford because my budget is mad tight is not much. All that stuff starts to accumulate. And if you really stop for a second and look at your bank account, look at your debit card, look at your credit card, and you add it all up, all those things you could probably do without that I'm just mentioning to, you're like, dang, you know what? My life really could be different. Now you have to ask yourself the question, once you evaluate that stuff, do the homework, evaluate that. Once you evaluate it, ask yourself the question, who am I doing this for? Like what is causing me to do that? Whose approval am I seeking? And bro, you hit very key on something. Very key on something. You said something along the lines of, you know that that's not who you are, but you're doing that. I will even go as far as telling some of you that there are things from a personal and moral perspective that you know are wrong, and you play along with it because you're afraid that if you tell somebody that they're doing something wrong, you're afraid of the backlash you're going to get. Again, this is not to scold anybody or tell anybody about the things they're doing wrong, because I gave y'all a Bible verse weeks ago about don't go, and tell somebody that they got a speck in their eye when you got a log in your home. You know what I'm saying? Because all of us have that. But it's a thing of, you don't have to agree with what people with what people are believing, that you yourself might know, yo, this is kind of wrong, but you won't speak up or you play along with it when deep down you know you're wrong. You know you're wrong in doing that. But you need to ask yourself, why are you not standing up? Why are you not defending what your beliefs are in so many different areas in your life? I guarantee you're going to find that the answer to that question is, you're afraid of the backlash. You're afraid of the comments people are going to say about you. You're afraid of being canceled out. And the thing is, if you don't stand up to what your beliefs truly are, you know what's going to happen if you keep playing along that way? There will come a point where your true beliefs will come out. What you believe will truly come out. And you're going to eventually say, nah, but I'm not with this one though. That one there kind of crossed the line. And once you get to that point, the very people that you were trying to gain the approval of, they were never rocking with you to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to be the ones to cut you out. And all this time, you'll be living a lie. You'll be living a lie. And I'm telling you, because there's a lot of stuff going on that people follow what their surroundings are saying, what social media is saying, what the media is saying, what this person's saying, what that person's saying, and they don't want to say anything, so they just stay shut and I agree with it, when in reality you don't. And just watch, the day will come where there will be something you don't agree with and you get canceled, and you got to ask yourself, if you feel that there are certain things that I can't really rock with, not that I'm going to tell people that they're wrong, but I'm not going to agree with it. I'm not going to play with it. I'm not going to play along with it. You know that you might be putting that on the back burner and not saying anything and not being your real self, your true self, because you're afraid truly of what somebody else might say, and you're looking for their approval. God designed you to be who you are, not who somebody else wants you to be. And a lot of us are not doing that.
And I feel the good thing about nowadays is good for those who do want to go to college, right? Who wants to go to university, but it's also good for those who say, nah, you know what, school's not for me, but I do have this that I'm working towards, so I'm working on, right? So it's becoming normal, right? The debates, right? People's opinions on things, people are respecting it more, because if you look at years ago, the first conversation would be, so what's up? Like, what do you have planned? What are you going to go to school for? What is it exactly that you want to do? At the time, I never understood that question. I was actually lost. The only thing I knew was I want to be a cop, because that's just what I knew, right? Which is the reason why I went to school for criminal justice, right? Like, this is real story, what I'm trying to talk about here, but we're going to get straight to the point. All along, it's not that I was lost or confused. It's because the age that we had at the time, we were trying to figure so much out. But society had it to the point where, oh, by the time you're 17, 18, you're supposed to know what it is exactly that you want to do or who you want to be, right? What do you want to do for a career? By 17, 18, you're supposed to be in college to complete 4 to 6 years or whatever it is, 8 years, right? Get your doctorate or whatever it is. But nowadays it's like, it's cool to say, no, I don't like school, you know, or not cool. Let me say it's okay for someone not to go to school, right? And there's respect on both ends now, because we're becoming more aware of ourselves, right? Where we know that it's okay to make that decision as long as you feel okay with it, which is what we're talking about in mostly all our episodes. Know who you are, know exactly what you want to do. Never let someone else convince you to do something that you really don't want to do. And this is in and out of education. This is with your relationship. This is with your hobbies. You can't let me go ahead and talk about, branch it out to fun. What is your definition of fun, right? What is your definition of fun? Your friend may like to go out and have drinks. Your definition of fun is, I want to go to a museum. There's nothing funny about that. That's what you like. You don't have to satisfy your friend, or even though you don't want to be in that setting, you're going to do it anyway because that's what they like. No, you know, there's ways to meet halfway. Okay, you know what? They like to go out. I don't like being out late. Let me go ahead and do maybe lunch. Let's go ahead and have lunch together. Let's go ahead and have dinner. You know, there's people that don't like hitting up a museum or a walk in the park or a bike ride. What is your definition of fun? Do the things that you like to do. Can't go by what society says is fun, or this is where you're supposed to be, or whatever. No, that's not how it works. Now, what happens when you go against who you are and what you feel? You start putting yourself in those settings where you don't belong because you don't feel comfortable. You start turning into a person that you're not being yourself. You're not a drinker. Eventually, if you put yourself in that setting, you're going to end up trying to drink. And what happens when you try to drink? You may not drink ever again, or you're going to drink heavily. Or you're going to make it a regular thing to drink. And what does that bring? For some, not for all. Problems.
Yep.
You're not in the right state of mind when it comes to decision making. You're not in the right state of mind when you're trying to figure out who you are and what it is that you want to do. Right? There's many times in the past where I thought, man, if I only knew as a teenager, I was developing and I was figuring out so much stuff. But late in, I would say early 20s, let's say 17 and up, I was having drinks. Was I in the right state of mind? In my decision making? I could say that was probably one of the reasons why I had a few delays in my development. One of the reasons why I was making bad decisions, whether it was in a relationship, whether it was just socializing, whether it was deciding what major I wanted for school, whether it's deciding whether I wanted school or not. There's a lot of factors that take place. But the more we become aware of us, our past, our decision making, our process, we end up molding into who we are today, right? We understand ourselves more. And I feel like developing never stops. It happens in our teens, our 20s, our 30s, our 40s. We discover new things, what it is that we like, what we don't, where we want to be, where we don't want to be, where we should be, right? Or where we shouldn't. And that goes a long way. Because I feel like with all the decisions that we made, think about it. You meet people, right? You let people into your life. So now, when you're interacting with people, what are you doing? you're receiving influence, right, from them, and you're also of influence to them. Now, if you look back, have you been doing the right thing? Have you kept the right people around you? What it is exactly that you've gone through that has affected you today? We have to become aware. Was it my fault? Was it my fault that I let this person into my life? Was it my fault that I kept this person around knowing that they were no good for me? Right? Was I any good to the people that I've been around? Why is it that I think the way that I think? Why is it that I do the things that I do today? There's a lot of things that we didn't know then that we know now because of the wisdom we have now, because of the discoveries that we made now. All through what? Experience and pain. Why the experience and pain? It takes some of us to learn the hard way.
Yep.
It takes most of us a situation to happen a number of times before we understand, wow, how come I didn't get it the first time? Sometimes there's a lot of things that is hard to accept. You have to eliminate habits. Eliminate people that cause you to have certain habits or settings. Sometimes it's not even the people, it's where you live or where you hang out. That's just how it works, you know, and I feel like we've suffered so much from it. And through all those experiences and the pain is what actually made us or placed us where we are today. Because wherever we are up here, we bring to reality. So if we cause frustration, if we're frustrated, if we're stressed, if we're full of regret, full of grudges, how are we going to be blessed? How are we going to be blessed with what we have ahead of us? How? If we're continuously just thinking about the same setting over and over, the same situation over and over. But now when we recognize, you know what, all this was a learning process and it's never too late to make a change, that's when you start unlocking the opportunities. Because you know you have today to make it happen. You know you have, if God permits, right, we have tomorrow to wake up and make things different. I want to go ahead and connect this thought. We are always going to experience a great amount of pain, whether it's through natural cause, intentionally, unintentionally, through lack of knowledge, lack of awareness, what we've been talking about this whole time. But it's how we manage ourselves and our perspective on that painful experience. It's all about how you come out of that painful experience. So now we go ahead and think back. We think about everything we've done, what we've been through, what we've overcome, what has really knocked us down to the point where we stepped into insecure stages of fear, where we were unable to develop and grow because of how we felt based on someone else or something that we've done in the past or a decision that we made that caused us to it caused self-infliction, right? Are you going to be more hurt and aggressive, or are you going to be wiser and passive? Now, my opinion is, as we grow, we're going to be a lot more wiser, right? We're going to become wise. As we become wise, we become a lot more passive because we're understanding us and we're understanding the people around us. At this point, we've already started to set limits. We know the places that we should be in, and we know the places that we shouldn't. We know the people that we should have with us and the people that we're no good with, right? To stay away from. Now that's on you. You basically have your solution in your hand. But sometimes the insecurity and the fear that we've developed throughout all these painful experiences, they block out that solution, but it's right in front of us. Sometimes we are receiving that advice from someone, but we refuse to accept it and move forward because no, they're wrong. Well, how would they know? It's my life. Sometimes there are people looking at you from their view, from the outside, and they're going to see things that you don't see.
I actually think there's one extra thing on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
Right now we live, especially, you know, the younger we get in generations, the more we see it, but it really affects
Oh,
most of
yeah.
us right now. And it's that many of us know the changes that we need to make, but don't make it for two reasons. Number one, the approval that you're seeking, which you know is probably not what you should be seeking, right? Because you're seeking it from the wrong people. You shouldn't be, you know, seeking from people, point blank, period. Anyway, but the approval that you're seeking makes you feel a certain way, and you don't want to give that up because you feel accepted. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? You feel accepted. You get an instant gratification. I want you to take that instant gratification for a moment because that's where I was going to get to. We live in a society in which a lot of things happen in an instant. They happen very quickly. I can immediately get this result. And a lot of us know that in order for us to achieve what we should really be going for, it's going to require patience, which is the complete opposite of the instant gratification. But we don't want to wait. We don't want to go through the process. We want to get it to speed up because we're used to getting things quickly, getting things as fast as possible. I want to feel this right now, which a lot of times is why you make the mistakes of getting this quick response, this quick approval. And if you're not getting it right away, let me try to force it. And that many times is where we make the mistake, because that's where we end up in the toxic relationship. That's where we end up with the financial debt. That's where we end up owning
Mm-hmm.
things that we have no business owning, you know, getting into a job that probably wasn't the right one. You know what I'm
Even our
saying?
interest shifts onto other things.
Everything. So it's like, but why? Because you don't want to switch your perspective. You're doing things to get, again, the approval from somewhere else. And that's why the approval and the instant gratification. So it's like, because let's be honest, when you get approval, you feel gratified, like you feel a different kind of way. You know, you feel better about something. And a lot of times that's where we're making the mistakes. You know, so
100%. 100%. And again, it all goes down to awareness. You know, it all comes down to awareness. There's a lot of things that I felt that I've learned in the past few years that I didn't know why things happened years ago, right? And I learned it now. And it's never too late to make improvements. You know, it's never too
absolutely
late to
not.
become
Absolutely not.
more aware. You know, there's been moments where I've even admitted to myself, like, man, I've been so ignorant. You know, there was a lot of things that I just saw my way, a lot of things that I just saw my way, and I didn't want to see it anybody else's way. Which is why now I'm more open. You know, I'm more open to these type of discussions and learning more about someone else, because there's a lot of things that we can learn from someone else, right? It's a lot of experiences that they may have. We may go through the same thing or different, but there's always something that we can pick up from, right?
Yep.
There's always something that we can pick up from, especially when it comes to like these painful experiences. You know, like I've been in the past where I've overreacted, but then someone else was very passive, and it's like, man, maybe if I would have done that, I would have avoided all the unnecessary that came after the situation, which made it worse.
Right.
Right. So um it's just so much, man. I want to go ahead and also attach this thought to what we're discussing today. Life is made up of good moments and bad moments, good days and bad days. But through it all are the most valuable lessons. The majority of those valuable lessons are in your toughest and darkest moments. It's where we have to be fully equipped with patience and faith. Now, I feel like patience and faith is extremely universal. you can actually apply that to any given situation. In anything, patience and faith goes a long way. As long as you have patience and faith, there's a lot of things that you would avoid. There's many situations where are quickly dissolved because of patience and faith, because you don't think about it any further, right? All you're doing is executing the solution to get past it.
Right.
And that goes far. And that's something that I've been learning. Like even now, you know, it's you would think that our lives will be figured out, but then we also learn, different levels have different struggles.
Absolutely.
But everything that we've learned in the past stages, this was actually helping us get through this stage that we're in now. We're thinking that, by now, you know, life should have been easy. But then now we have things that happen in the world that we have no control of, where we have to learn how to adapt to the situation. What situation am I talking about? Inflation, right? We have to learn how to adapt in the world now, right? With the gas prices and how everything's changing. We can't have the same expenses, right? Like the habits. We have to cut back on a lot. Yeah, we get it. You're used to certain things, but if you want to continue to survive in this world, we have to adapt in the world that we're currently in.
Yep.
Right.
And you're right. It's kind of like when when COVID started, everybody had to take a pause, and there was nobody that did not have to adjust their lifestyle. Nobody was exempt. You were forced to do it. And there were people that didn't make the change and unfortunately suffered the repercussions of it. You know what I'm saying? Suffered some very heavy consequences of it, unfortunately, or impacted others because they themselves didn't want to have a lifestyle change,
Mm-hmm.
or you had a number of different things, like, you had kids that suffered because the parents weren't willing to make the adjustment in order to assist them with doing well in school with the change that there was. You had marriages that ended because it was like, people weren't willing to change their lifestyle now that they had to be home a whole lot more. You know what I'm saying? They didn't want to adjust their lifestyle. So that put a lot of burden and a lot of strain on the situation. Mm-hmm. You had people that were overextended and didn't want to change their lifestyle in terms of how much money they were spending. And they continued to buy a lot of stuff that they didn't need, knowing that, like, you know what, right now, you might be losing jobs. You know what I'm saying? And they had to put off phone bill payments for months, mm-hmm. rent payments for months, all because, like, the fact that they never saved impacted, them financially, impacted those things. And nowadays, they're reaping, they're reaping the repercussions of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So many different things like that. So it's like, you're really hitting it, because
there's definitely a purpose for everything.
Absolutely. And some people saw it as a blessing. I know a number of people that saw it as a blessing because they were like, yo, I'm realizing the difference of spending time with my kids. I'm realizing the difference of spending time with my spouse. I'm realizing I was putting way too much of my attention at work. I'm realizing that I thought that all these different things were important, and they're really not. Like it was a real punch in the gut for a lot of people. There were people that realized, wow, I was spending so much money in all these different areas, and in reality, that didn't add anything to my life. Mm-hmm. It was actually a negative, not a positive. But in being, in being in those moments and spending my effort, my time, my money, my whatever in these things, I was blinded to the fact that, no, that's not the move. Mm-hmm. And now that I'm forced to not, that I can't do it, it's not even available for me. It's like, man, you know what? This really isn't the move. It's a perspective shift. You know what I'm saying? They had it forced. Some people didn't get the point. And I'm telling you, I'm being 100% honest with you. There's a lot of people that are going to have to make very serious decisions. There's a lot of things that don't look like they're changing anytime soon. There's a lot of things that look like they're getting worse soon. Some people might think it's extremist or crazy what I'm about to say, but you don't think about the fact that when people were joking about COVID at first, didn't take it serious. When it happened, it happened. And later they were like, wow, I didn't even expect that. I was wrong. And don't be embarrassed if that's you. I think most of the world felt that way, right? So what I'm about to tell you, I hope, is a warning, just a wake-up call for some. Some of y'all may need to make decisions if things go a certain way, where you may need to decide what's more important.
Mm-hmm.
Putting food on the table to be able to survive, or paying for some of the luxuries that you have. Some of y'all might need to make the decision, yo, do I pay the rent or do I buy this food? Do I have to leave this job because financially it's going to be more of a strain and I'm going to have to switch what I'm doing into something else just because driving to the job is costing me so much money in gas that I need to do something different, somewhere closer in order to be able to survive? There's a lot of decisions that might have to be made. Cutting off that Netflix subscription because the Netflix subscription being 20 here, the Disney subscription being 10 there, and so on and so forth, might make the difference between us not eating ramen noodles or actually eating a healthy meal for my family. You know what I'm saying? Don't think that it's a far away possibility. God willing, it's not. I hope it's not. But I'm just saying, when we started to hear signs and warnings of COVID, many of us didn't take it serious.
Yeah.
So when you're hearing signs and warnings that this might be happening, don't wait till the last minute. You know why? Because if you wait till the last minute, those resources that you need, because you weren't taking it serious, those preparations that you should have made, you may be stuck in a situation where you don't have even a possibility of doing what you needed to do, and you might be struggling. It's happened before. It will happen again. It's the honesty of it. And the preparations might not necessarily be for you, but we need to think it's not all about us, right? Bro, you know, you and me have talked about this before. We're hoping that the blessing comes to us to be able not to provide for moments like that might happen for us and for our families, but to be able to provide for others if it happens. To be able to be the ones that be like, yo, you couldn't find anything in the store to eat? I got you. And again, I'm saying it's not a far-fetched idea. Please don't believe that it's a far-fetched idea. Because I was just hearing from people that during COVID, I did not know that not only were there lines at the supermarket, but people couldn't find meat. People couldn't find regular basic, necessities. I'm not talking about your toilet paper. I'm not talking about Lysol. I'm talking about certain food items that you would need. They couldn't find it. I had no idea. I was clueless because we didn't suffer that here. You know what I'm saying? But different people did. And believe me when I tell you, there are people, trucking companies that were not prepared for the rise of gas so rapidly that when they make the delivery, they don't get paid. They get paid 30 days later, 40 days later, 60 days later. And you know what? They eat in that gas bill until they get paid. And a number of them have said Yo, I got 4 trucks. We're wasting 6,000 a day. We drive, let's say, every day. You do the math. 6,000 times 30. It's 180,000.
That's intense.
They're like, I don't have $180,000 to pay in gas. So I'm gonna have to start declining some of these trips to bring this food or to bring these things that they're asking us to transport. And that's a lot of companies, bro, that are feeling that way. What happens when they have to take a pause on deliveries? Where do you think that your food in the stores comes from? Your necessities do. They come from those people that deliver them. And right now, they're out there giving you the warning signs. Yo, we might be getting to the point that we can't, even if we want to, we have to say no to the delivery. Listen to what I'm telling you. But a lot of us don't want to be like, no, that will never happen. Well, COVID should have never happened. And we went through what we went through. And it's a game until it happens. And then everybody's running to the supermarket to try and get toilet paper and Lysol and all that stuff. And you can't find nothing.
Insane.
You don't want to be put in that situation, but that might require for you to evaluate your lifestyle right now and what you deem to feel is necessary. And to say, you know what? I might not want to take that risk. I might want to start cutting off now because there may be a point in which I can't. I won't, even if I wanted to, I won't have the opportunity. You know what I'm saying? Just saying, man, I felt the need to say that because it falls in line with a lot of the stuff that we're talking about. That like, you know that there's something that you need to do different, but you don't do it. Yeah, you don't do it because you want to please yourself. You like what you receive, or you do it because you're seeking the gratification of others. And sometimes it's a status symbol. I have this, so people look at me this way. You know what I'm saying? And it can add up quick. It can add up quick. Some of y'all, I don't know why I feel to say this too. Some of y'all have felt like something inside you is telling you to go trade your car while the value is super high to get into something cheaper because you know that you need to save the money, and you're not doing it because you don't want to let go of the fact that you got a BMW or Mercedes emblem on your car. I'm just saying. But you know that could be the difference of $500 or $600 or $700 every month, and you're not doing it. Knowing that you have a perfect opportunity, you're not doing it because you like the status of people saying this person's rocking this, but you've been feeling that you need to make a change. You know, again, it's not to say that we can't have nice things. I love to have nice things, absolutely. But it's to say that you know that you need to make a change for a particular reason to help you and yours out, and you're not willing to do it, and it's getting to be dangerous, bro. And you got to ask yourself why.
You just got to become aware of all of it. What's the reason why you're doing what you do? There's a reason in every situation. You know, just have to accept, adapt, right? And make those changes. Make those changes for the better.
Absolutely.
There's a purpose in all those situations. Let's see, today was the most engagement was in the beginning, but
yeah, and again, if you have something that you want to say or you want to join, please don't hesitate to get on. I know sometimes people have things to add, and it could be a blessing to others, and it may be things that we didn't get a message on. You know, God hasn't put it in us, but He's put it in you. So, of course, if you have something to say on anything that we talked about, or maybe God's put in something different that you just feel needs to be talked about this evening, don't hesitate to put the message out. Make it anonymous if you want. Request to join. You do have an opportunity still before we wrap up, but I think we've talked about a lot. You know, it's a lot for people to take. And believe me, nobody wants to change. I know it's difficult. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you've been in bad habits or things that you've been knowing that you need to do. I mean, it is what it is. Sometimes change is difficult. You know what I'm saying? Evaluating yourself is difficult. Conversations, like you mentioned earlier, that you would have are critical, that you know you need to have them for the betterment of you and the people around you. But that does not mean that it's easy. And many times that's why we want to avoid them, because it's hard to talk about. You know, it's difficult to talk about. But it might be difficult, but it may be necessary.
Yeah. And what we really wanted to say on this episode with today's topic is anything that you're going through, it can be mentally, emotionally, financially, right? Because we also covered financial towards the end. Speaking of, look at the message we just received. Yes, Pastor Carlos, we must listen to the economic forecast, prophetic warnings. Like in the days of Noah, the people who ignore the warning will be stuck. 100%. You know, and you know, sometimes people may be asking themselves, what does one have to do with the other? And it's just it comes all together. It comes all together, right? There's different things that we all go through, and there's certain things that we go through that there's one area in our life that affects other areas, right? Which it goes right back to awareness.
Yep.
So that's what we pretty much touched today. You know, whatever it is that you're going through, go ahead and use that struggle, that pain, and turn it into opportunity, right? Turn it into using it towards improving whatever that situation is. You know, look at all the areas in your life. You know, what's lacking, what it is that you have to make improvements, where, you know, what changes can you make? The more aware we become of us and our situations and the people around us, the faster we can change and make sure that we secure our future. We secure our stability, mental stability, emotional, yep, financial, just in general. So while we wait, that was very good. I'm glad they mentioned that. While we wait to see if anyone else wants to drop a message, we are on every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:30 p.m. Central, and 5:30 p.m. Pacific, West Coast.
West Coast.
Every Thursday. Again, this is episode 28. We really appreciate everyone who joined us on the live. We appreciate everyone who's watching us on the recorded session on YouTube, as well as YouTube Live and Facebook Live. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Big Bro, there's anything else you want to go ahead and... We don't have any more messages.
On this end, I think we're good. Let me just pray over everybody this evening. I feel like it's important to go ahead and pray everybody here real quick, just with everything going on. So just Heavenly Father, I just thank you for everybody that's joined us this evening, that's been receiving tonight, Father God. Everybody that may be watching this afterwards, whether it's clips, whether it's a full episode, you know, just for everybody, Lord God. You brought us on here because you've put in us, Father God, wanting to seek the best for everybody that you have encountered this platform, Father. So I just give you thanks, Lord. Give you thanks for each and every person that will see this, that has seen this, Father God. May everything be to edify them, Father God. May everything be to build them up. May be to give them direction, Lord, because at the end of the day, we do not want them to perish, Father God. We want them to be uplifted by you, Lord, in all areas of their life, Father. So may you just give everybody just peace in this message. May you embed this in their hearts, Lord. May you allow them to go ahead and evaluate what you want them to evaluate, changes that they need to make, knowing that it comes from you, being able to apply it, Father God, so that they do not perish as your people, and allow them to see that no matter the difficulty or what they need to change or what needs to happen in their lives, Lord God, may it be for you to be able to show them that you have a purpose, and a purpose that is for their good, to uplift them, for you to be glorified, and for others to come to know you through the blessings that they will receive in their life and what they will declare afterwards when they look back on the situation, and hopefully even while they're going through it. We just give you praise in this moment. We bless every person. We bless them over this weekend, Father God, over this next week as we join next week, Father God, and we just give you thanks and praise, Lord, not just now, but always. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Sounds good. Once again,
Awesome.
thanking everyone who joined us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Really appreciate it. I hope you have a great night and a great and blessed week. And always remember, patience is a virtue and faith is the substance. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you for
God bless
joining
all
us.
of
See
you.
you next week for episode 29.
Amen.